You're not even here to get advice from us for this episode. You're here to see how we did in 2023.
Let's talk through this. There's a lot happening out of the usual or not normal. So let's figure out how we're going to address it.
We stopped taking on clients in April of 2023, and we didn't take on a new client until September. And then we also had other challenges after that, like Lisette left us in October. How did we close out year over year?
All right. Year over year, growth numbers, total income, we grew. In what categories did we see things move, either up or down? And for the most part, everything went up. Everything, we just scaled up, right? Scaling up has costs of everything else associated with it. Yeah, we had to pay our lawyer more, to pay more in software, monthly services and whatnot. We paid more in mail, right? They sent more mail. Everything else just has more costs associated with increasing.
You sent these numbers over to me, and I'm like, the owner draws are way lower than what they should be. Like, I didn't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I'm like, based on our gross profit, like, this doesn't seem right at all. We have a profit account that we put money towards to first. So I can't remember, but it's like almost 10% or something like that. So every dollar that we receive of gross profit, so after cost of goods sold, goes directly into that profit account.
You're going to hit a problem if you start keeping too much money in business without planning what you're going to do with Uncle Sam's bill. I have disdain at the businesses that panic when they can't make payroll for a week. Because they're like, oh no, we're out of money. What are we going to do? What have you been doing? You just YOLO hard the whole time? You didn't keep any money in savings for this when it's things happen and you got to be prepared.
Yeah. Every morning, my dogs wake me up. And by dogs, I mean one dog, Faye, our golden. She wakes me up about 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom. Sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes it's like 12 a.m. and then 3 a.m. or 1 a.m. and then 4 a.m. And she woke me up at 3 a.m. So usually I'll just like go and like pull the sliding door open and they'll go run. And then I'll shut it and I'll go back to bed, or like I'll lay in bed at least and maybe like set a 15-minute alarm. But when it was warmer out, I would like sleep through that alarm and I'd be like, oh crap, like they were outside for like an hour and a half. And then like I'd get up, but I can't. So it's cold now, it's like 0 degrees, so I can't do that. Like I physically cannot fall asleep, or else like I run the risk of that. So like now I just stay up and like for 15 minutes and just force myself up. And I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw like a comment on agency ownership, and I was like, hey, does anybody have any good acquisition strategies for clients? And I'm like, well, good for you, we've done a bunch of episodes on that. So then I went to Spotify and went to go like recall those episodes, and I realized, so this is this morning, this is Friday at 3 a.m. I realized I didn't get episode 86 out. I was like, oh no.
Oh, like not at all?
No. So, well, I cut the episode, and then what I usually do is I'll cut it, I'll edit it, and then I'll upload it as a draft to Blueberry. And then that way I can add the description and all the fields I need to on any device I'm on. I don't need to be on the device that has the audio file. So I did that Thursday morning. And then Thursday night, I told myself I'm just going to finish this before I go to bed. But then I didn't. So I woke up at 3 a.m. and I was like, I didn't publish it. So at 3 a.m. I was in my kitchen at my table on my computer, writing the description out and getting it published. And it made me think of Andrew, one of our listeners, because he says that he listens to the podcast on his morning commute to work. And I was like, it's like 7 a.m. He's gonna be like, where's the podcast? So I checked it when I woke up at like 7, and it said that it had pushed an hour ago. So at 6 a.m. it finally got to the platforms. So I think I got it just in time. Nice. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was Reddit. So up until now, I have consciously avoided Reddit, like just being on it in general, because I cannot stand the Reddit culture where you post something on there and then like everybody hates it or hates you or something. And
Yeah.
I, even having this podcast, I feel like we have really good intentions of just kind of educating the community. We've got nothing to sell, and we really don't run advertisers or sponsors. We have an affiliate with Aura, but that's it. And so answering questions on Facebook is easier because people seem more receptive to that thing, or to, receiving feedback of being like, hey, we did an episode on this, just go listen to it. Whereas like you can't really do that on Reddit without looking self-promotional and then just getting downvoted like crazy. So I walk this line of being like, how much do I promote the podcast, but also explain to people that like, I've got nothing to sell you, but then no one's going to believe me anyways. So, however, having said that, we had a listener, Bo, reach out to us or me on LinkedIn, and suggested that you follow the agency subreddit. And so I was like, I don't really want to. But anyways, I looked at it. He goes, seriously, like all of the threads are questions that you've answered on the podcast. And I'm like,
Mm.
what? So then I actually went and I looked. I'm like, oh my gosh, these are all super easy to answer. So then I went in and just started answering questions, but being just like thorough. And anyways, the podcast listenership in the last like 2 weeks has like exploded.
From Reddit.
I would assume. There's no attribution, so I would assume that
Okay.
it's from Reddit. That's the only different thing I was doing, and I'm posting less on Facebook.
Okay.
So our search traffic on Spotify is increasing though, like our search impressions.
Cool.
But they don't give us keywords, so I have no idea what we're ranking for. But I know Bo had found us by using the search feature on Spotify.
Spotify SEO. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Check us
he
out.
typed in grow my agency, and we were number one.
Ooh. Look out, world.
So then I started playing with it. I'm like, grow my agency, agency growth podcast, like just like different variations, and we're like number one for like every variation of that. Put grow an
I like that.
agency
I
in
like
there.
to hear that more because you said the Reddit thing. You sent me one of the threads. I can't do. Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. If you tag me in, you tag my username in, I'll talk. Right. I can't ignore that if I get a specific shout out or something.
I'm not going to be happy about it, but I'll talk.
But like, okay, the one thread I think that you sent was about productized services, and people were just dumping on it. And I'm like, okay, I don't care. You not believing that this works, you being like, oh yeah, it doesn't work, people aren't successful, doesn't change what's happening to my Stripe account, right? Like we still
Which
have
we're going to
money.
talk about.
We still have money coming in, whether you believe in it or not. And then I'll shut up. I can
think
make that a whole thing. I don't want to make it a thing. I'll just get all fired up.
The biggest reason I think I was noticing in that thread is because people were dumping on productized services, because the way that they were doing productized services is they weren't putting constraints on the labor. They were just like packaging up a service with a specific price and then just saying, we'll do everything and everything under the sun, or anything and everything under the sun. And that'll eat into your bottom line and your labor. But if you put those restrictions on there with an internal hourly rate, which is we talk about a lot in this podcast, then you can absolutely productize a service. And
all you have to do is look at hosting companies. That's all you have to do, because there's nothing to hosting, right? Not really, unless there's a disaster. And then you need support that can field all the inquiries that you're going to get. So every hosting company out there is just taking money and then banking on things being okay. And then when things aren't okay, supplying enough support to field the inquiries based on whatever they decide is appropriate. And that's what it is. So any other businesses, you got me going. I said I wasn't gonna.
I mentioned this to you though, and I said the difficulty with the difference between Reddit and Facebook for answering questions is, in Reddit, people ask questions to learn or to get other perspectives.
I believe that they post for that. Yeah.
Yes. In Facebook, yeah, right. They post for perspective. and with their questions. In Facebook, people ask questions to validate what they're already doing or thinking. And
Yeah.
so I think you're more likely to get harsher criticism from an OP on Facebook for your perspective
Hmm.
and pushback. Whereas on Reddit, you might not. But on Reddit, you're going to get harder pushback and feedback from other readers and other users.
Yeah.
Uh, and but there's been a couple times where I've had to defend my position, and I'm like, look, this is what we do, and then like because everything is legitimate that we do, you can't. It's hard to argue against it. It's almost impossible because like it works for us, and that's all I'm saying. And
Hmm.
it's a really a breath of fresh air when a fellow redditor is like, oh, that's an interesting model. Sounds like you got things figured out. I'm like,
A Redditor
wow.
with enough self-awareness to be like, I
Yeah,
never thought from that perspective before. Thank you
I
for
know.
stretching my mind. Yes, nobody says that.
Yeah, but it's only the redditors that aren't anonymous. It's the ones that either have their name in it or like a profile picture. Like those are the
Mhm.
only ones that are like self-aware.
Yeah, I
So
also know too, I spend a decent amount of time on Reddit. It's probably the only platform, social media platform besides like YouTube that I spend any noteworthy time at this point. And I don't comment. I just lurk hardcore. So um, I know that like the benefits and stuff of Reddit come from the lurkers. It's not from the other commenters. But you need to be active and comment. And I'm grateful that you do because I would just
implode.
if people just get if they get sassy. I'm like, why am I here? What? Like I didn't. I don't have to do this. There's not a single person here who's out here saying, "Yeah, Cody, keep your head down. You gotta talk to these people and convince them." Like I don't. Whatever.
I think it's because we do have something to promote without something to sell, and I don't think people can believe that. When and especially
We'll flip later, guys. We're
yeah, don't worry, we'll sell you something. But
yeah, we'll get there.
I feel like the like even like the mods who don't believe that they're like you're not here to like actually give free information. I'm like then why did you start the subreddit? Like what
Hmm.
do you have to sell?
Yeah.
And then like and it's like oh so you're the only altruistic person in this in this whole thread.
That's funny.
But anyways, that's 10 minutes of a cold open. That's enough of that. But the real reason is you're not even here to get advice from us for this episode. You're here to see how we did in 2023.
Yeah, because if you give the title and you're just saying that, then the people just want the review or whatever, right? The
Yeah.
numbers and the growth and the.
Yeah. So last
I
time,
used to read these
Cody.
a lot. Well, not it
Yeah.
wasn't podcasts, but back in the
Right.
day, I think people still do it like earnings reports.
Yeah.
We're not going to give that much detail, but or I mean, I thought that they were interesting, and if nothing else, motivating, right?
Yeah. We did this episode before. So the first time we did this was in 2023, January. We were both in Colombia. And it was our first in-person podcast. The audio on that is just terrible. I think it's like episode 34 or something. But where we decided to go through our numbers, and then we're like, well, let's just do this every year. So we're going to do it again this year, except we'll use percentages as things just start kind of growing and taking off, and people coming for our families.
I think context too, right? I mean, once you get bigger, percentages mean nothing at the smaller amounts, right? Anybody who's doing advertising or marketing knows that because you're like, you grew 100% and you went from 1 to 2. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
like if Facebook grows 10% year over year, that's freaking huge. Like, but like 10% smaller number doesn't mean anything. But
Mhm.
then like smaller numbers, if you grew 100,000 year over year, that's huge. But if Facebook grew 100,000, that's literally 0.0001% growth.
Wait, when you say Facebook, what do you mean?
Meta,
Oh,
like
like as
the
the
company,
company. Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
like
Okay. Yeah.
percentages matter for Meta, not numbers, because people who aren't making that much have no like perception of what that actually does.
Yeah. Like when you're smaller, you should have bigger percentage numbers because it's not hard to manipulate or tweak them. But when you get, yeah, once you're big, if you hit single digit or double digit changes and stuff, that's noteworthy things because you're talking about, depending on your size, uh, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, Do I just start? Do I get into it?
Let's get into the numbers, Cody. How did we close out year over year?
All right. Year over year growth numbers, total income, we grew 70%.
Ooh, that's revenue, right? That's
That's
everything
everything.
coming in. Okay.
That's all the money going through the biz.
So yeah, that's a pretty heavy growth number. I mean, I wanted to be higher than that. I wanted to be like 150, like I wanted to be double that.
I want to be 200. Yeah.
But but keep in mind, like for those of you who listen to the podcast quite a bit, you know that we stopped taking on clients in April of 2023, and we didn't take on a new client until September. And then even then, we throttled it because in between January and April, we were taking on 6 clients at a time. And then when we decided to like open the doors, we like opened it just enough for people to get their foot in, and kind of control the traffic, and we reduced the onboarding number to. And then we also had other challenges after that. Like Lisette left us in October or
Mhm.
November, I can't remember. October, I think it was.
Yeah. At the
And
end. Yep.
yeah, so that required us to hire somebody to replace her. And now we have someone that we've got to train. And things aren't able to kick off as fast as we would like. But all things considered, though, like even if none of that happened, even if we kept taking on clients between April and September, even if we didn't have any kind of employee turnover or anything, 70% is still a wickedly good number to grow at our size compared to what we got last year.
Yeah. It's a sick flex. But the other two numbers, I'll do them in order. I think are more telling because it's easy. This is I don't like when we've talked about this. People are like, "Oh yeah, I'm making this much money." I'm like, oh, "Okay, you're moving that much money, but what's actually happening? How much are you keeping?"
When drop shippers are like, yeah, my business made $1 million, but how much did you put in your pocket at the end of
Or
the
I've
day?
I've heard Amazon sellers saying they don't even try to make a profit at all. Period. On Amazon. On Amazon, all they try to do is break through or break even, and then build off of Amazon where they can make their profit. Like this is weird. I
That's so risky.
Yeah. So, okay. Second number gross profit, we increased 42%. So, notably smaller.
Why is that
And
smaller?
because we had more costs of goods sold, right?
Yeah. What's a cost of goods sold in our agency?
In our case, it is primarily ad spend, right?
Right.
That's because of the way that we do things. We've mentioned this before. We do bill ad spend, and then we take it upon ourselves. And the reason is we own accounts to, I mean, more than anything, the number one reason is the legal ramifications of if you don't, you gotta figure out how you're going to navigate it. So for what we did and how we choose to do it is we own the accounts. We're legally responsible for the spend. So we bill clients and then we spend it for them. And if there's
Yeah.
something that goes wrong, like a disaster scenario and somebody punches in too many zeros, that's our problem.
Yeah, if you go back and listen to episode 78 on 5 ways to manage your client ad spend, we do mention this. I think it's point number 1 is who's responsible for um, the money being spent, and we are because we're running the ads. So we run the ad spend. There's also a little tidbit in there that we'll talk about in another episode too. Is if you run your own ad spend, you put it on your own card, that gets rewards. You get free money from the credit card provider. And when you're spending tens of thousands of dollars a month, like we are, those add up to pretty significant rewards. So,
Yeah. So I think the obvious question is, okay, so you grew 70% total income, but only 42% of gross profit. What does that mean? Explain it to me like I'm five. It means that our clients spent more money on ads, right? More than anything else here. That's what you can take away, which is good. But that's also why that top number doesn't matter a ton. That's not indicative of our business as much. I mean, it's not nothing, but what it's saying is that our clients trust us more to spend more money, and that's what they've been doing. So that's where more is moving there. And then the gross profit is before we start dealing with all of our internal expenses. So at 42% there, we have our final number that really matters and people probably care about, which is net profit. And we grew 50%.
Sweet.
Wow, crazy.
And so what is net profit? Describe that.
That's what Uncle Sam cares about. Is that so you have your gross profit, which is before we have all of our costs. And then you take out our costs, including like our software, our travel, our meals, our legal expenses, our accountant, our contractors, our payroll, wages, all that. And it's just between Jake and I because we haven't yet elected to S corp, although we're getting very close at this point. It's what Uncle Sam is going to say. Okay, you guys need to pay taxes on this, and that's what you're concerned about. So, again, even that, because we choose to keep a lot of retained earnings, we keep a lot of money in the business that to them we have to pay taxes on, so we do. But we like to keep things stable. We've mentioned before, and I'll just say me because I'll speak for myself. I have a deep hatred for or disdain. I don't know. Hatred's not that strong. I have disdain. I bite my thumb at the businesses that panic when they can't make payroll for a week because they're like, oh no, we're out of money. What are we going to do? What have you been doing? You just YOLO hard the whole time. You didn't keep any money in savings for this when this it's things happen and you got to be prepared. So we are. And that's why we keep so much in the business. Now there is a flip side too, which is if somebody comes after your business, you don't want to have too much in the business because you want to have those. That's why you have a legal shield. So you can have them separate and be relatively, it's a weighed risk of how you want to keep your money. But if nothing else, you got to keep some things in the business because you need it to be able to continue operating as it should be as you go through ups and downs in life.
Yeah. And in other words, like we have a profit account. Cody's talked about this in a previous episode, but like we have a profit account that we put money towards to first. So I can't remember, but it's like almost 10% or something like that. So every dollar that we receive of gross profit, so after cost of goods sold, goes directly into that profit account. And at our stage, it's just an exercise because we haven't elected to S corp. We're still in LLC, or in like the UK, you guys use LTD. But that is that, and then another percentage goes to savings. I don't know what it is, like 5% or something. And
do you want me to say things? Am I supposed to?
Sure.
I'm not giving answers. I'll just be indicative. I'll be like,
yeah, go for it. I don't care. It's higher. What is it? Well, tell me. What is it? 8%?
I'm not gonna say. I want to tell people. I just don't want to.
So it's between 5% and 100%.
I'm like that teacher who won't give you the direct answer because I want you to have to get there yourself so that you feel that you are responsible for the decision. I don't want to tell people the exact percentages that they need for their business because if it's even if it's marginally different than us, then they're going to have to figure it out on their own.
It works for us and it might not work for you. And if you just copy the percentages that we allocate to different accounts, then like you're not really doing yourself a favor. And
like you do SaaS or something, or you do, I don't know, you do something more creative, and all you have to do is change one small thing, and all of a sudden it's no longer a direct comparison and not fair.
Dude, I'm so stupid. On my right screen, I literally have the finances for December email you sent me, and it has the allocation percentages. So yeah. I didn't realize that. So, okay, I know exactly how much we put into savings, but regardless, you put somewhere between 1% and 100% into savings, and
I forgot that I do that.
that to us is not profit. That to us is savings. That to Uncle Sam, the U.S., the government, is profit because it's not being allocated towards anything other than a superficial account that has the word savings on it. And so that all gets taxed the same. So sometimes when people ask me what our profitability is, I'll deduct, say, the savings percentage from that because I'm like, oh, like our profitability is like like 15% or something like that because like I've already like deducted all of these other accounts out of it that are still technically profit. And
Mm-hmm.
if you really look at it as an LLC, like we are like 60% profitable or something. But that's because our wages are coming out of that first. Once we S corp and our wages actually go into the payroll account, then what's left over. And I did a diagram on this on one of the recent episodes that we just did,
Mm-hmm.
um, showing everybody that. But you're not going to see that until the video comes out in like 100 weeks. So
Yeah,
um,
when we were younger and dumber too, and we didn't know about some of this stuff, we had our accountant come back to us and say, "Hey, you're gonna hit a problem if you start keeping too much money in business without planning what you're going to do with Uncle Sam's bill." Right? If you, because he's like, this is very secure, it's stable, you're doing smart things from an operational perspective, but because you're running this like an S corp while still being an LLC, you're going to have responsibilities here. So what he said is just at the end of the year, do an overall analysis based on your risk tolerance and do just go and level, do a sort of reset and make sure that you're comfortable where you're going into the next year without being too scared of your tax burden, in April or whenever it
the
is that
way
you
that
pay.
I see it is like we're baking a cake, right? We have all these different ingredients, and like our savings account is like the cup full of flour, and there's like a ton of flour on top of it, and all we're doing is taking a knife and just like scraping that excess off, and then
Yeah.
that goes into mine and Cody's pockets for us to save for taxes.
Basically. Yeah. Okay.
um, oh,
I
but
got,
I did want to say that like
okay.
regarding the percentages that we allocate to different accounts, one of the main reasons why we don't say exactly what they are anymore is because they're adjusting. Like they change all the time. Like our profit started at 5%, but it's no
Yep.
longer that anymore because we started increasing that exercise and taking money away from other pools that we're not spending. And so obviously the whole goal is getting that profit account to as high as you can without being a complete asshole and taking away from your payroll.
Mhm.
Um, and we've mentioned that before is like if your payroll is like 10%, you're probably an asshole. But uh, so like our payroll account, like ideally it'd be great if it was 50% because that means we're paying our employees really well and we're hiring really good talent. But other companies or other business owners might not see it that way. They might say your payroll is super bloated. And to that, I bite my thumb at you.
um, yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna keep going. I'll keep going.
That's the Cody. I have thoughts. Yeah. Yeah.
I did, and then I lost them, and they're just kind of floating around. And I thought, do I really want to go heavy into this? I don't think it's actually that important. Oh, okay, I remember. Uh, we end up talking about it anyway. Like this isn't something. We'll probably hit a point where uh, we have this scheduled to review these on a regular basis, but it already happens organically because I go through the numbers, I crunch everything. I say, depending on how things look, if everything's fine and normal and nothing's outstanding, I just ship it off to Jake and I say, hey, check it out. Let me know what you think if anything's weird, but everything for the most part, from what I can tell, is totally fine. If anything breaks our allocations, like something is too high, maybe our operating expenses go above what we typically allocate, which means that we're getting too expensive. Like things we have to figure out either to cut something or figure out how we can save in an area or talk about it and then raise our operating expenses percentage allocation because we're seeing that that needs to happen. But when things like that happen, when things are out of whack in whatever way, I just stop. And this we decided this at the very beginning where you were just like, you just do it. And then if it doesn't work, let me know and we'll talk about it. And that's what happens every single time is I say, hey, let's talk quick. Let's talk through this. Um, there's a lot happening out of the usual or not normal. So let's figure out how we're going to address it. And then after that, if we see that happening for like 3 consecutive months of something being atypical, like outside of the typical allocation, or we're seeing that something's maybe way bloated, we don't need to be saving this much money, something like that. That's when we say, okay, maybe we need to change one of these percentages. maybe that we have, this isn't appropriate for where we are anymore at the moment.
Yeah, there was something not recently. It was like 8 or 9 months ago, where like you sent these numbers over to me, and I'm like, the owner draws are way lower than what they should be. Like
Hmm.
I didn't know what it was. I couldn't have my finger on it, but I'm like, based on our gross profit, like this doesn't seem right at all. And I think what it was is you had like based the payouts on like you
Oh, I
or
just
you
took the wrong number. Yeah.
yeah, well, what I thought was like for like operating expenses, for instance, like you took what our actual operating expenses were and deducted it from like our owner's draws because it exceeded our 10%, or yeah, whoops, sorry, I blurted that out, our 10% allocation to operating expenses. But I was like, we have an operating expense account that has like extra money in there for situations like this. And so like we don't need to pull from our owner's draws, we just pull from that pool. And I think that's what it was. And then once we did that, I was like, oh yeah, these look much better now.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's always good to have a second set of eyes, just reviewing everything and making it. That's every part of the business should have that. Okay.
Yeah.
Enough of that. Yeah, I think this stuff is fun, this part down here, and it's noteworthy changes. So, in what categories did we see things move either up or down? And for the most part, everything went up. uh,
More, more money, more problems.
yeah, exactly. Right. We made more and we had to spend more. And I mean, you could understand that just from how we explain the growth numbers. So yeah, we spend more money on things. And I wrote them out in lazy categories to make them slightly more interesting for this. Um, the first one was accounting, and I wrote down that Jeff charged us more, and I was proud of him because we told them a while
Was that
back. We're
earlier?
like,
Was that earlier this year, like in January or something?
yeah, I think it was at the beginning of this year. We told him a few times, like, Jeff, dude,
Did
come
he?
on.
We paid like when it was before Jeff. It was like this old guy who was like getting ready to retire,
He
and
didn't. He just didn't care. It was great.
yeah, yeah. He charged us like $20 a month or something, like because we didn't have very many line items, and like we still really don't. And we also make it super easy for our accountant now, where anytime we get a receipt for something, we literally email it to him and say like, this is going to go into this account. Um, and well, back in like January, Jeff was like, I gotta raise rates, and he sent a letter out to everybody, like all of his clients, and he raised it to an acceptable minimum hourly. So like, it doesn't matter if it takes 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, it's an hour. And whereas like our old guy Todd, like he's like, this will take like 5 minutes, twenty
Yeah, like
bucks.
when I remember when I showed up at his place, and it was, like the old, like, paneled
Yeah,
from
I
the
used to work at
60s.
I worked at that scale menu or scale distributor. They had that in the offices.
I think Grundy County, there's like a law office that I think that they still have it. It's great. It's wholesome. Anyway, yeah, he just looked at me like, this is going to take me 5 minutes. Like, yeah, I'm glad you see that, because everybody else is, at the time, that's what we needed,
Yeah,
especially because everybody was saying,
we were making less than like $500 between us a
yep,
month.
yeah. So we needed something like that. But yeah, so Jeff said, hey, I'm going to bump it up. And we're like, yeah,
It was
good job.
significant too. It was like a 1,000% increase or something.
Mhm.
And so like obviously, but we sent him an email back and we just said good job with a thumbs up emoji. And I think he was like genuinely confused. He was like, what?
Yeah, we're on his team. He's on our team. Support him. All right.
Yeah.
I combined these all together: advertising, promotional, and marketing. Then I made a note that we, and by we I mean you, because I couldn't make it, but uh, Evergrow, the company, attended their first in-person conference. So that was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I just put the note card away. Of like here, let me go get it.
Oh no, I never know what to do when he does this. Like I just mumble. I don't know if he cuts this out. I can't remember either. He's back though. Good.
All right. So my conference badge, Jacob Hunley. It says
Like comment,
Evergrow.
but the video quality to me is so low, it just looks like a
Oh,
potato. So
well, It's for Equip Expo in Louisville, Kentucky. It says Evergrow, Blaine, Minnesota, which is where I live. But I chose Evergrow because I went under the guys. Okay, so there were two conferences. There was one that I actually spoke at. That was a franchise conference or the franchise partnership that we have. The other one was like the big one, like the big expo. And that was like down the street. But for that one, I signed up as Evergrow, like a lawn care company, because they were charging marketing and media companies like 10 times more just for being a marketing and media company. And I was like, I just want to go look at the tools. Like,
It was the assumption that you'd be soliciting, right?
probably, but I don't know. So I pretended I was a lawn care company. And I did. I looked at the tools. I looked at a lot of the green industry tools. And I didn't actually talk to or solicit anybody while I was there, except for some of the Augusta guys. They were actually at that conference as well. And they're like, can we grab a table and meet somewhere?
And you just talked to him at the other conference anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I did, but it spilled over because the other conference was actually at a church because their venue wasn't available that they were going to get. So they did like one at this like giant church, and they had like a hard deadline of being out of there by like noon or something. And so like I talked to a lot of them there, and then I was like, I'll be at Equip, so just like meet me there rest of the week. But yeah, this was I'll cover up some of the names. This was the note card on the panel, and I'm at the bottom here, which is the second to last before the Q&A. And it says the nuts and bolts of Google Ads. So that was their name they gave our presentation. That was not our name. So I made sure when I got up on stage to be like, that's not what we called this presentation. We called it how to light your money on fire with Google Ads. But I think I talked a little bit about that in a cold open on a different episode. But yeah, Cody messaged me when he was doing the finances, and he goes, what did we spend 500% more on marketing this year for? oh yeah, that's right. We went to a conference. Whereas like all last year, all we did was get t-shirts and business cards.
Yep. All right. This was interesting. Overall, okay, I'll just read how I wrote it because I think that's the best way to explain it. Said, so an increase in contract labor, right? But a consequent decrease in wages. So on the whole, we've seen only a relatively small increase in payroll. And that wasn't a conscious decision other than consciously choosing the best applicants wherever they are. And it shows and they're good and efficient. So what I mean by that is the team has become more global just as a result of the applicants that we've received and the best talent being wherever they are. And coincidentally, they need to be contracted instead of hired domestically. And the part where we increased net profit so much and our combination of contract labor and wages still being comparatively low just shows that they're more efficient. So it's great, right? And just commenting on the team, I think we got a pretty good team right now. Mm-hmm. Best team we've ever had. And yeah, it feels good. And I've had more than one mentor tell me this, and these guys are all older than me, right? And they
must be old. Cody's like a year and a half older than me, and I think you're like old man banter.
They have opinions, and they had set perspectives on globalization and what this looked like and whatnot. And then COVID happened. And then no matter what, it didn't matter if you were domestic or not. Everybody was remote. And then they realized that, oh, you can. Because everybody wants to think that you can't. Oh, no, it's not. And I'm not going to say that there are some things missed from being remote. No doubt. You do miss out on some things. But saying that you can't do it at all. I had so many of them come back to me and say, what I took away from the COVID change in business was more than anything, you should be open. You should be open to the best talent wherever they are because there's good people everywhere. And ultimately, just as a business decision, it can be a great thing for your business. So,
It's like
um,
it's like opening like it's like if you live in like Wyoming or Montana and you like we're like I'm gonna start an agency and you're like I'm only gonna hire local talent. Well, your agency's gonna suck then.
yeah,
Because there's approximately 10 people in that state in each of
yeah,
those states.
yeah. We just talked about this where,
It was a cold. I think it was a was it a cold open or did we have like a private chat where it
no,
was like,
it was just a private chat where I'd mentioned, like, I was saying, yeah, who knows? Maybe if I end up in Japan, that we would just go we get a tiny house in the middle of nowhere, Stardew Valley life, right? Just
mhm.
tiny town, tiny house, farm or whatever. But uh, if you limited yourself just to local talent, what do you have? You certainly aren't going to have anybody skilled. You're going to have to teach them everything. And maybe you have the advantage of comparatively cheap labor, right? But because even just domestically, people who aren't in the major metros are going to, that's the trade off. If you live in the country, you know that you're trading off some of the things that you don't want to deal with in the city for a lower wage for, probably a less stressful life. But
I
yeah,
think
if you remove that limitation and you open yourself up to talent everywhere, then it's just not
I
a
think
problem.
I think considering too is like we don't hire the way that I see it is we don't hire skilled labor, we hire talented labor. And basically what that means is you don't have to none of the hires that we've have had any skill well except Angie. She has like UX writing experience, which is insane. Like I didn't even know that was a thing.
Mhm.
And so like that was like our first like skilled hire. But when it comes to actual marketing, nobody we hire has marketing skills. They have what they have is talent. So like Eva has writing talent. Laura has talent in relation to just being like managing her own time and being having attention to detail and things like that. And talent isn't something you can teach. So when we hire for what we can pay based off of how much we're making, we have to make sure that the candidates that we have the talent we're looking for the role. We're going to get to a point where we're no longer hiring for talent, we're hiring for skill.
Mhm.
And it's like I need you to do this and I'm expecting you to know how to do this. But we're not there yet. Um
Yeah. I I don't know if talent's the best word though, because it makes it seem like it's this innate thing that people can't develop. Um, it's almost like a base level of professionalism expectations. I don't know how to. I think I've said it before
yeah.
with soft skills, right? I used to just not value soft skills at all. Like, how hard is it to? I'm going to get very bro here for a second. And I'm not sorry. I'm not even sorry. I'm not going to apologize about this one. If you're a man and you shake a guy's hand and you look him in the eye and you stand up, and then when you're talking, you can have like a relatively social conversation, all that sort of stuff. I say those things as because for women, it's also like it can be different at this point. And
Mhm.
in the workplace of like, when is it appropriate to shake somebody's hand, depending on your role at the moment. But even those sorts of things. Um, that it's not necessarily a talent. It's just were you raised to know those sorts of things? And if not, did you teach yourself later? Do you send a thank you after doing an interview? Right?
Yeah.
Just thank you for the opportunity and chance to talk. Um,
Do you have a salutation in your email or do you end it like a chat? Like
yeah,
it's like they're like minor things to some people and to some people it's like they've never been taught and it's like it's hard to teach those things in a business setting. Um, and there's a really good book out there for those of you guys who are worried. And I do say guys because this is a gender specific book. But for those of you who feel like maybe you don't know all of like the etiquette things, there's a book that I think Cody recommended to me called How to Be a Gentleman.
it makes me sound like a huge douche when you say it like that. Though, like, hey, Jake, read this book, you asshole. Like,
It was a good book though. There's a lot of things in there. Is it
I
How to
got
Be a Gentleman?
yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it is. It's how
Jeff
to
is his name.
why
Let me go grab it.
John
I got it right
Bridges.
here.
How to Be
Okay.
a Gentleman: A Contemporary Guide to Common Courtesy, a book by John Bridges. So,
Yeah, I got. I can. Okay, little offshoot. I got into etiquette a while back in general because I noticed that uh, I was moving up. um, and I wanted to be prepared
This is
because
before
I was,
Evergrow. This is when you went from a jewelry store to an agency.
yeah, yeah. I wasn't to Evergrow yet. I had worked at a jewelry store for a minute. And then I was at one agency. I went to the next agency, and I just thought, I'm starting to hang out with people that I didn't grow up around this. And there's a whole social environment and condition that I don't know and I'm not familiar with, and I don't know what's appropriate. And I learned all the things. And then I got to the end and I realized more than anything that, you know, this stuff, it is important, but more than anything, what I took away is just being considerate and trying to anticipate the other person's feelings and emotions and making them feel comfortable is more important than anything else, right? Um, because especially in the agency space, there's a whole lot of new money, and the people that you're working with a lot of the times are new money too. Um, you end up in this uncomfortable, sad spot where you don't like old money because you can't relate to them. And I'm saying this, I'm not even close to rich. This doesn't even count. All I'm saying is I've gone up, right? I moved up a little bit. Um, but when you do that, you don't relate to old money because they didn't have to work as hard as you did to get to where you are. You don't like lazy people because they're just lazy. So then you're in this uncomfortable spot of I only really like and relate to other people who are also moving up. And that's a pretty small crowd, statistically speaking, because most people aren't. More people are either staying the same, and then the biggest group is going down, right? That's how it goes. The rich get richer and the poor have children. So um, you, I wanted to get to know that sort of thing. And that's what I realized, though, is no matter what, in all of these places, in all of these situations and environments, that the best thing that you can do is make the people that you're spending time with comfortable, and that's the most kind thing that you can do. Eh, that was a speech. That was a sermon for a second.
That was sappy. Anyways, How to Be a Gentleman by John Bridges. Uh,
Next one,
no,
next increase cost.
it was good. Yeah. What increased? What did we spend more
Um,
money on?
this I just rolled all these together. It was a way of saying everything else. I said legal, I said software, so on. Look, there's nothing really obvious to
Rolling
point out
everything,
here.
rolling everything up. I'm surprised they didn't just call it direct traffic.
Yeah, this is the direct traffic equivalent for total cost.
That's an
It's
SEO joke for those of you in the SEO space.
everything we just scaled up, right? Scaling up has costs of everything else associated with it. So this is, yeah, we had to pay our lawyer more. We had to pay more in software, monthly services and whatnot. We paid more in mail, right? They sent more mail. Everything else just has more costs associated with increasing. So,
Mhm.
um,
Even like so, like on like one of our software, like we upgraded our servers from like the basic package to like Plaid, like ultra fast Tesla Turbo or whatever. And now like our client sites are super fast, but it's also a larger expense on us, and we didn't pass that on to our clients.
yep, yeah. Okay. Decrease categories. I think these are funny because there's
Okay.
not many. And the first one was meals. That's comical. I wrote this. I think this might actually be true. Even I said we switched from a dumpling place to the breakfast place, and we are no longer supporting the dumpling racket in Mason City because look, they are charging too much money for their dumplings. It is out of
They
control.
charge
I
like
feel like I'm the meme. Like
$15
the
for
prices are
six
too damn
dumplings.
high.
It's literally like we did the math, and it's like $2.50 a dumpling, and it was
Mhm.
like it's not enough to fill you up because I remember I like ordered two of them,
They're
and
little.
yeah, so like our bill when we leave was like $80. But then we switched, like we went down the street. It was is the other side of town actually, to this like big like breakfast family restaurant. It's one of those restaurants where it's like they're like open all day. They have like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They even serve beer at like 8 in the morning. And and like It's just like everything is like out of like made out of pine, like pine trim, like pine desk and everything. It's a very light colored place with like just I don't know,
Yeah,
just
the
cheap. But
waitress somehow simultaneously is very kind and does not give a single shit about anything, right?
yeah, she's got 6 kids at home, and she's 25. But like those are like the most endearing places to go to. But then also like their menu is like 6 pages long, and it's so hard to decide what you want to eat, but you still end up getting the same thing every time. And and but the whole meal, like a whole meal that's just huge, is like $10 a person.
Yeah.
And yeah, we went from spending like $80 a month on our monthly meetups to like 20.
There's not even a question too of it. Is it okay to get more? Like get whatever you want and as much of it as you want.
I
It's
ordered
not even all you can eat. It's all you have to eat. All of
I went to well, because like I was I was like, these are the prices. This is it. I'm like, this isn't even close to our dumpling bill. I'm gonna order more. And so like I remember like the first time we ate there, I was so hungry. I ate a what was it? I ate a burger meal that came with like a burger and fries, and then I had also ordered 2 pancakes and hash browns, which is a separate meal. But and then
isn't it
I ate all
awesome?
of it. It was great, and it was only $20 for me.
We should give them a shout out. What's nah,
Dude, every time I type this into my GPS, I type in like big family restaurant Mason City, and I can never remember the name of it. Let's see.
they're great though.
It's called Village Court Family Restaurant. Yeah,
Recommend.
they're so great.
If for any reason you are passing through, I don't know why anybody would be. Because that's the thing is about Mason City is not. It's not on any major road other than it's convenient between us in particular. There's not many other ways or reasons because you do Highway 20 or 35. There's nothing else
Yeah,
really there.
I feel like Hampton is like more like directly in between us, but there's also nothing there.
Yeah.
There's some city or some town village that's like near there. All right, what else
Okay.
decreased?
This is the last one. And it's a bit deceiving because it's travel. The company spent less on travel this year, but honestly, we both traveled probably more than we did last year.
What did we
Um,
travel in 2022? Where did we go in 2022 that cost money?
I don't I don't remember. I'm a past negative person. I don't remember anything that's
Well,
especially over a year ago. It's all just
so,
dead to
yeah,
me.
so am I, but I have no idea. Oh,
I don't
wait, hold
remember.
on. Oh, I think I know what we did. So we flew Lisette to Iowa twice.
Ah, okay.
That's travel. So okay, that makes sense. We didn't go anywhere. We brought people to us.
Mhm.
But in
Well,
2023, we went places.
we traveled right, but even that decreased because we traveled, but we didn't expense them.
I remember we expensed our 2023 Colombia trip in 2022.
Oh,
Remember
because we paid for it.
we paid for the tickets in December, and we did that on purpose to spend money before tax time or before the year ended. But then we did the traveling in 2023. So that's why traveling went down, is
Yeah, it
because
makes sense. You book
yeah,
hotel flights all a month in advance. Yeah.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, we went to Colombia and Japan and Louisville, Kentucky for an expo. Like, how was travel less? This
Mhm.
makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I didn't expense the Japan thing, and neither did you because
Right.
we yeah,
Well, I
there was enough that was
technically I did.
all of it.
So
So you
the
only did a
way
part of it, right?
I think it was just no, I think I did you're right. I think maybe I just did part of it. But the reason why though, yeah, it was just me. It was just me because I expensed it, but we took it out of my withdrawal, my own withdrawal because if you can expense it on the business side of things, you can save yourself. Like I think I saved myself $1,000 in taxes because the business paid for it and then reimbursed me.
Mm, yeah, but I know we talked to Jeff about that. Jeff made sure that this was all kosher. I remember because we were talking. We
Yeah,
messaged him. We're like, hey, how do we do this right and not actually make Uncle Sam mad? So I remember he said, well, if you're only doing business for X days or whatever, then you got to do this fraction or this percentage. And then Jake's like, I'm flying well. I'm doing, what was it, first class? Is that what you did?
Yeah, we flew first class. Yeah.
So that makes sense why you'd be able to save that much. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
it was $4,200 ticket. So 25% of that is $1,000.
Yeah.
And then
Makes sense based on how much we.
yeah. So I think I paid for the hotel out of pocket, but then the flight there and the flight back for me, I expensed. And I was like, it doesn't matter how many days I spend with you for business. I had to fly there and back, regardless of how many days I spent. So I was like, I'm not gonna prorate any of that. And Uncle Sam could fight me on that because that's stupid. Like, but that's all we had for growth, right?
Yes.
So we got bigger. Not as big as I wanted to get. We're still like, we did not hit 500,000. I'll say that. And I am depressed about it. Cody does not care. No, he does
matter.
not.
Because we keep going up, right? I mean, if you're going up is progress, and we're already going up at 70% total, 50% net, over 40% gross. It's a lot. This is a lot of stuff to deal with, especially because these things change as you grow. How you achieve the next level of these things changes too. Right now, this is for us to keep moving things. It's a lot of us continuing to do things. We are still not yet to a stage where we can entirely give something to somebody else and only have them be on like payroll or something, right? If we're going to expect that much from somebody who can really move things in the way that with our dedication and our decision making process, right? They're probably going to want skin in the game. And so we can't expect that yet out of people if they're just simply on, or if that's just not what they want, or they tell us that they're not signing up for that. I think that's important to have that sort of alignment with your team too. Not everybody wants the same things as you. So, a lot of growth can depend on early on how much you want to, grind. But then as you grow, how much your team is in alignment with you about how much you want to keep pushing things and them. And if so, how are you going to incentivize and motivate them to?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. I don't even know what people think about those sorts. These are things I think about in the shower. My shower thoughts as I just stare and off into space.
Yeah, I think about just like promotional and marketing stuff, like how to get like keep growing and like future of. I think of like I think you future like you think like in like inner ever grow. I think of like outer ever grow. How do we grow out? And you're like, how do we sustain the growth that Jake is probably thinking about in the shower?
Yeah, that's what we do, right? That's the split. So makes sense.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed our 2023 yearly recap. If you have any other questions, reach out to us. I put all of my socials in the description. So it's like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Reddit now. So yeah, I'm not anonymous on Reddit. I'm just Jake Hunley because I have no reason to. That'd be stupid if I was anonymous and promoted a podcast that I hosted. So anyways, guys, thanks for listening. If you're this far, that's awesome. Hope to see you in the next one. But yeah, that's all we got.